If I can't have this house, no one can. The words hung in the air as Diane's perfectly manicured hand raised the gas can, sloshing liquid across my porch steps. My porch steps. I stood motionless, phone recording in my trembling hand, watching 30 years of resentment culminate in this desperate act of destruction. I should have felt afraid, seeing my father's second wife about to burn down the lake house he'd built, the one he'd left to me in his will, the one I'd been excluded from for 3 decades. Instead, I felt strangely calm. This moment had been inevitable since I changed those locks. "You're trespassing, Diane," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. At 45, I'd learned that true power often comes in quiet moments of certainty. "This house is mine now." "You ungrateful," she spat, stumbling slightly in her Italian leather shoes. "You think you can humiliate me? Destroy my family? Everything was perfect until you ruined it." Perfect. The word echoed in my mind as she poured gasoline across the cedar steps my father had hand carved. Perfect was the thought she'd maintained, the illusion of the happy family, minus one inconvenient daughter. "Mom, stop." Samantha appeared from around the side of the house, her young face twisted with horror. I hadn't even seen her car arrive. "Stay out of this." Diane waved a silver lighter, her hand shaking so badly I wondered if she could even manage to flick it. "Your sister thinks she's so clever, turning you against me too." "That's not how this ends," I said calmly. "Look around you, Diane." Police sirens wailed in the distance. Through the trees, blue lights flashed. Samantha was holding up her phone. She'd called them the moment she saw her mother arrive with a gas can. "It's over," I continued. "The truth is out. The house is mine, and you're about to be arrested for attempted arson." The lighter fell from her manicured fingers as 3 police cars flooded the driveway. "You ruined everything," she whispered as they handcuffed her, designer outfit incongruous against the steel restraints. I watched them lead her away, thinking of my father's letter, of all the summers I spent excluded, of the family photos where I was conspicuously absent. "No," I said quietly. "You did that. I'm just taking back what's mine." How did I get here? Standing on the porch of my father's lake house, watching my stepmother being arrested for attempted arson? The story begins 30 years ago with a 14-year-old girl watching her family drive away without her. Flashback 30 years earlier, this summer I turned 14. I learned what invisibility truly means. Not the superhero kind, but the kind where you stand in your bedroom doorway watching your family load suitcases into the car, pretending they can't see your tears. "There just isn't enough room this summer, Carol," Diane would say, her hand resting on my shoulder like a dead weight. "Maybe next year." But next year never came. For 30 years, I was the daughter who didn't go to the lake house. I still remember the last time I touched those cabin keys. Dad had just married Diane, and I was helping him pack for their first family vacation, except I wasn't family anymore, not really. "Samantha and Michael need time to adjust," Dad mumbled, avoiding my eyes. Thomas Winters, the brilliant architect who could stand firm with difficult clients, suddenly couldn't look his own daughter in the face. "Diane thinks." It was always what Diane thought. I remember sitting on my bed after they left, surrounded by the swimsuits and sunscreen I'd packed hopefully, letting the tears fall. Mom had been gone for 3 years by then. Breast cancer took her quickly when I was 11. For those 3 years, it had been just Dad and me. We'd grown close in our grief, spending weekends at the lake house he designed and built himself. "This is our special place, Squirrel," he'd say, using the childhood nickname that came from my habit of collecting pretty stones and pine cones. "No matter what happens, this will always be where we can find each other." But then Diane came along with her perfectly behaved children, 9-year-old Samantha and 12-year-old Michael, and suddenly there wasn't room for me in the car. There wasn't room for me in the photos. There wasn't room for me in my father's new life. Present day at Joseph's office. "Are you absolutely certain?" I asked for the third time, gripping the armrest of my chair in Joseph's law office. The letter in my hands was turning my world upside down. "The lake house. To me?" Joseph nodded, sliding his reading glasses off with the weariness of a man who'd seen too much family drama in his 60-plus years of legal practice. Your father was very specific, Carol. The cabin and all its contents are yours alone. No conditions, no sharing clauses. Joseph had been my father's friend since college, had watched our family evolve and devolve over decades. The lines around his eyes deepened as he continued. But Diane doesn't know yet. Thomas changed his will last year. He left the main house and most assets to her, but the lake house. That was always meant for you. I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. 30 years too late. There's something else. Joseph reached into his desk drawer, pulling out a cream-colored envelope. He wrote this the day he changed the will, asked me to give it to you after he was gone. The paper trembled in my hands as I unfolded it. Dad's familiar architect's handwriting, precise despite his illness, filled the page. My dearest Carol, I know this doesn't make up for the summers I stole from you. I was a coward every time you asked to come with us. Every time I saw you watching from your window as we drove away. I told myself I was keeping the peace, but I was just keeping quiet. Diane threatened to leave and take Samantha and Michael if I didn't put them first. I was afraid of being alone again after losing your mother. It was selfish and unforgivable. The lake house should have been your home too. Now it's yours completely. Make new memories there. Better ones. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you then. Maybe this will help you stand up for yourself now. Love, Dad. When can I take possession? My voice sounded stronger than I felt. Joseph handed me a set of keys. It's yours as of today. Though I should mention, Diane usually opens the cabin for the season next weekend. Usually, I repeated, running my thumb over the familiar brass key. What are you planning, Carol? Joseph's tone turned cautious. I thought about my 14-year-old self unpacking a bag I'd hopefully filled with swimsuits and sunscreen. I thought about all the Facebook photos of Samantha and Michael lounging on the dock while I stayed home alone. I thought about Emma, my own 18-year-old daughter, who had never even seen the lake house where her grandfather had taught me to swim. Nothing dramatic, I assured him, standing up and smoothing my skirt. I'm just going to change the locks. I slipped the keys into my pocket, feeling their weight like a promise. Then I'm going to wait for them to realize they're the ones locked out this time. Joseph sighed but didn't argue. He'd known our family too long, seen too much. Your father also left you this. He handed me a small safe key. There's a wall safe in the master bedroom. Whatever's inside, he wanted you to find it. As I drove home to my modest faculty housing apartment near the university where I taught English literature, Dad's letter burned a hole in my jacket pocket. Part of me wanted to cry for the father who finally grew a backbone after death. Part of me wanted to scream at him for waiting so long. But mostly, I thought about Diane's face when she pulled up to the cabin next weekend, designer luggage in tow, only to find her key didn't work anymore. At the apartment evening, my phone buzzed with a text from Mary. How did it go with Joseph? I sank onto my couch, kicked off my sensible work heels, and typed back. Dad left me the lake house. Just me. No one else knows yet. 3 dots appeared immediately. Holy. What are you going to do? I looked at the keys glinting in my palm, thinking about all those summers watching them leave without me, about how it felt to be the family ghost, always haunting the edges but never allowed in. I'm going to teach them what it feels like to be left out, I replied, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. Emma emerged from her bedroom, headphones around her neck. At 18, she was already more confident than I'd ever been, with her father's height and my stubborn chin. What's got you looking so? I don't know, vindicated, she asked, dropping onto the couch beside me. I hesitated. Emma knew the basics about my relationship with her step-grandfather and his second family. She'd met them at obligatory Christmas gatherings and Dad's funeral 2 weeks ago, but she'd never understood the full extent of my exclusion. I'd protected her from that, perhaps too much. Your grandfather left me the lake house, I said simply. Her eyes widened. The famous lake house? The one I've never seen but heard about my whole life? The one in all those Facebook photos where Samantha always looks like she's posing for a catalog? I laughed despite myself. That's the one. Emma leaned forward. So when are we going? Can I come this weekend? I can reschedule my study group. You want to come? I asked, surprised by her enthusiasm. Mom, you've told me stories about that place my whole life. How Grandpa built it himself. How you learned to sail there. How it was your special place. She squeezed my hand. Of course I want to see it. Flashback a memory fragment. When I was 7, Dad took me sailing for the first time. The lake was calm that day, reflecting the sky like a perfect mirror. Dad let me hold the tiller, his large hand steadying mine. The thing about sailing, squirrel, he said, is that you can't control the wind. You can only adjust your sails. Years later, after he remarried, I would remember those words during every silent car ride, every awkward holiday dinner, every summer I spent alone while they went to the lake. I couldn't control Diane's wind, could only adjust my sails and keep moving forward. Now, 30 years later, I finally had my hand on the tiller again. At the lake house first visit, the lake house key felt different in my hand now that it was mine. Standing in the driveway with Emma beside me, I took in the cedar siding, the wraparound porch, the wind chimes Dad hung decades ago. Everything looked exactly the same, frozen in time like a museum of my exclusion. Need some moral support? Mary's voice crackled through my phone speaker. She'd been my roommate in college, had listened to my tearful stories about the lake house for years. I'm fine, I lied, climbing the front steps. Just taking it all in. The lock stuck slightly, probably from Diane's expensive but useless weatherproofing treatments. Inside, the air was stale and heavy with artificial pine scent. Everything was perfectly arranged like a magazine spread. Color-coordinated throw pillows, artfully draped blankets, family photos everywhere. Oh my God, Emma whispered, moving from frame to frame. You're not in any of these. I know, I said quietly. I mean, not a single one. There's Samantha's graduation, Michael's college acceptance, family Christmases, summer barbecues. 30 years of memories, and it's like you never existed. I watched my daughter's face as the reality of my exclusion finally hit her. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up a photo of Dad with his perfect family, all smiling on the dock where he had taught me to fish. This is cruel, she said, her voice breaking slightly. How could Grandpa allow this? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't tarnish her memory of her grandfather even further. Instead, I said, let's take them down. Already on it. Emma began pulling frames off the walls, stacking them in a box she found in the hall closet. We're donating these to Goodwill. Let some other family enjoy Diane's perfect staging. The locksmith arrived at 10. He was quick and professional, changing every lock in under an hour. The new keys were silver instead of brass, a small detail that felt significant somehow. All set, he said, handing me the paperwork. Need anything else? I shook my head, already imagining Diane's key failing to turn. This is perfect. Emma and I spent the morning cleaning, opening windows to let out the artificial pine smell. In the kitchen, we found Diane's precious wine collection, all carefully labeled with "Do Not Touch" stickers. We moved them to the garage. Mom, look at this, Emma called from the master bedroom. Is this the safe Joseph mentioned? The wall safe was hidden behind a terrible painting of a sailboat. My hands shook as I inserted the key. Inside, I found a stack of papers and a small leather journal. The first document made my heart stop. It was a divorce petition, dated 3 years ago, but never filed. Dad's signature was there, but it's crossed out. Oh my God, I whispered, snapping a photo to send to Mary. The journal was Dad's. The first entry read, I should have chosen Carol every time. I should have chosen my daughter. Dan threatened to leave if I didn't put our new family first, but maybe I should have let her go. My phone rang. It was Joseph. Carol, just wanted to let you know, Diane called the office. She's trying to schedule the annual opening of the cabin for next weekend. I smiled, feeling a calm certainty settle over me. What did you tell her? That she needs to contact the property's new owner. I didn't specify who that was. Perfect. I've already changed the locks. Be careful, he warned. Diane doesn't handle losing control well. She never has. I thought of the perfectly arranged house, the meticulous wine labels, the carefully curated family photos with no trace of me. Well, neither do I replied, thinking of all those lonely summers. That's something she's about to learn. Flashback Diane's early days. I was 13 when Dad first brought Diane home for dinner. She arrived with perfect highlights, a casserole, and a sympathetic smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You poor thing," she said, patting my head like I was a puppy. Growing up without a mother's touch. She glanced around our comfortable but slightly cluttered home. Men just don't notice the little things, do they? Within weeks, she was rearranging our furniture, replacing Mom's hand-sewn curtains with designer ones, suggesting Dad update his bachelor wardrobe. I watched her methodically erase traces of our previous life, of Mom's presence, of the ways we learned to be a family of two. She lost her first husband when Samantha was just 3, Dad explained when I questioned her constant presence. She's had it rough too, Carol. I didn't know then what I learned later. That Diane's first husband had left her with substantial debt, that she'd been searching for financial security, that she'd seen in my grieving father both a solvent bank account and a malleable heart. The confrontation of Michael's arrival. I was measuring the dock for repairs when I heard a car in the driveway. Emma had gone to pick up lunch in town, so we were expecting no one. Ducking behind a tree, I watched Michael's BMW pull up. At 28, he had grown into a taller version of his entitled teenage self, complete with designer sunglasses and an air of impatience. He didn't notice the new locks at first, just tried his key repeatedly before checking his phone. "Mom," I heard him say, "something's wrong with my key." He paused, listening to her response. "No, I'm sure I'm doing it right." Another pause. "What do you mean, new owner?" I stepped out from behind the tree. "Having trouble?" Michael spun around, his face flushing red. "What are you doing here?" "I live here now." I held up my new silver key. "Dad left me the cabin." "That's impossible." "Mom says." "Mom's wrong." I walked past him to unlock the door. "And you're trespassing," he sputtered. "This is our family cabin." "No," I corrected him, feeling a calm I hadn't expected. "This was your summer vacation spot, but it was my inheritance." I stepped inside and started to close the door. "Oh, and Michael, if you come back without permission, I'm calling the police." The door clicked shut on his shocked face. Through the window, I watched him storm back to his car, already dialing Diane. My phone buzzed with Mary's response to the divorce papers I'd sent her. "This changes everything." She must have blackmailed him into staying. "Probably," I texted back. But that's not even the biggest news. Michael just showed up. Had to tell him the new house rules. How'd he take it? I watched his BMW peel out of the driveway, gravel spraying. About as well as you'd expect. But that was just the preview. Wait until Diane shows up. Flashback Michael's teenage years. Michael was 12 when his mother married my father, already showing signs of the entitled man he would become. I was 17 by then. Counting the days until college would give me an escape from Diane's passive-aggressive comments and Dad's increasing absence. "Why do you even care about the stupid lake house?" Michael had asked once, finding me looking at old photos. "It's just a cabin in the woods." "You wouldn't understand," I'd replied. "Whatever. Mom says you're just jealous because you're not special anymore." He'd smirked, secure in his position as the new golden child. "Dad takes us there all the time. It's like our place now." I didn't correct his use of dad for my father. Diane had insisted on it from day one. Instead, I turned away so he wouldn't see my tears. That summer, I took a job that required me to work weekends, creating the perfect excuse for why I couldn't go to the lake even if invited. The invitations never came anyway. Years later, I would learn from Samantha that Michael had torn down the tire swing Dad and I had built together, claiming it was babyish. Dad had allowed it, even helped him, apparently forgetting the afternoon we'd spent finding just the right rope, just the right tire, just the right branch to hang it from. Main confrontation. Diane's family arrives. The hiking trail behind the lake house gave me a perfect view of the driveway. Emma and I had been watching from there since dawn, knowing they'd come. Michael's warning call to Diane guaranteed it. Right on schedule, 3 cars pulled up: Diane's Mercedes, Samantha's modest Prius, and Michael trailing in his BMW. They were dressed for a vacation that wasn't happening, loaded down with designer luggage and grocery bags. I don't understand, Samantha said, shifting her yoga mat under her arm. The key worked fine last summer. Diane marched to the front door, her heels clicking against the path. Even approaching 60, she maintained the perfect highlights, the designer clothes, the air of someone accustomed to getting her way. She tried her key once, twice, then started pounding on the door. This is ridiculous. She pulled out her phone, probably calling Joseph again. Her voice carried across the yard. What do you mean, you can't help? I've been coming here for 30 years. Through my binoculars, I watched Michael find the notice I'd posted by the door. His face turned that familiar shade of angry red as he read it aloud. Notice of property transfer. This residence is now under new private ownership. All previous access agreements are void. Trespassing will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Private ownership? Samantha looked confused. Dad would never sell the cabin. He didn't sell it, Michael snapped. Carol's here. She claims Dad left it to her. Diane went very still. Even from my hiding spot, I could see her shoulders tense. That's impossible. She changed the locks. She can't do that. Samantha dropped her yoga mat. Can she? Oh, but I can. I stepped out from the trees with Emma beside me, and I did. Diane recovered first, plastering on her fake smile. Carol, darling, there must be some mistake. This is our family vacation home. Not anymore. I held up my deed. Dad left it to me. Just me. Joseph has all the paperwork if you'd like to verify. Your father would never, but he did. I walked closer, savoring each step. 30 years of keeping me away, and now you're the ones who can't get in. Karma's funny like that. Emma stood silently beside me, watching the scene unfold. I'd given her the option to stay behind, but she'd insisted on being there. I want to see their faces, she'd said. Samantha stepped forward, looking genuinely distressed. But where are we supposed to go? We always spend summers here. You'll figure it out, I shrugged. I did. For 30 years. Michael lunged forward, but Dane grabbed his arm. Don't, she hissed. Not here. She turned to me, voice honey sweet. Carol, surely we can discuss this like adults. Come to some arrangement? Like the arrangement where I spent every summer alone while you played happy family without me? That was different. You were difficult. I was 14. The words exploded out of me with a force that surprised even me. I was a child whose father just remarried, and you systematically cut me out of every family event for 30 years. Samantha's eyes widened. Mom, what is she talking about? She's being dramatic, Diane dismissed. She chose not to come. Really? I pulled out my phone, opening the photos I took of Dad's journal. Should I read what Dad wrote about those choices? About how you threatened to leave if he didn't exclude me. Diane's face went white. Where did you get that? The same place I found the divorce papers he never filed. I smiled, channeling her own fake sweetness. There's a lot of interesting reading in that wall safe. You had no right. I had every right. This is my house now. I started walking toward the front door. And you're trespassing. Mom. Samantha's voice shook. What divorce papers? Not now, Samantha. Diane's mask was cracking. She grabbed her phone again, fingers trembling as she typed. I'm calling our lawyer. Go ahead. I unlocked the door. I'm sure they'd love to hear about the trust fund transfers too. That made her freeze. What did you say? Oh, did you think Dad didn't know about those? It's amazing what people write down when they're feeling guilty. Michael stepped toward me menacingly. You little. Careful, Emma warned, speaking up for the first time. Security cameras are already running, and unlike you, we actually have permission to be here. My phone buzzed, a text from Diane. You don't deserve it. I looked up from the screen, meeting her eyes. Maybe not, but I own it. And you have exactly 5 minutes to leave before I call the police. They left in a flurry of slammed car doors and squealing tires. Only Samantha looked back, her expression unreadable. Once they were gone, My hands started shaking. I sank onto the porch steps, adrenaline crashing. Emma sat beside me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. You okay, Mom? I think so. I watched a boat cruise across the lake, something tight unwinding in my chest. But I don't think it's over. Of course not, Emma agreed. Diane won't give up that easily. I know. I stood up, brushing off my jeans. But neither will I, not this time. Flashback a summer day. When I was 10, Dad and I built a small rowboat together. He'd drawn up the plans himself. He was always designing things, making beautiful objects with his hands. We spent weekends measuring, cutting, sanding, and finally painting it a bright blue. What should we name her? Dad asked as we prepared for the maiden voyage. I thought for a moment, then said Hope. Dad laughed. That's a pretty big name for such a small boat. But she'll carry us, I'd explain with a child's logic. And that's what Hope does. After Diane came into our lives, I often wondered what happened to that little blue boat. I never saw it in any of their family photos at the lake. I assumed she'd gotten rid of it, like she'd gotten rid of so many things that connected Dad and me. Now, as I walked around to the boathouse with Emma, I caught my breath. There it was, faded and weathered, but unmistakably our boat. Someone had turned it into a planter, filling it with geraniums, but the name was still visible on the stern. Hope. Mom? Emma asked, seeing my tears. What is it? Nothing, I whispered, running my fingers over the peeling paint. Just a memory I thought was lost. The truth emerges, Samantha's visit. A week after the confrontation, Samantha texted asking to meet. Alone. She arrived at sunset, wearing jeans instead of her usual designer outfits, her face makeup free. At 25, she looked younger, more vulnerable, more like the little sister I never really got to know. Mom doesn't know I'm here, she said, following me onto the porch. Want some tea? I offered, lifting the kettle. I'd prepared Dad's old chamomile blend. She nodded, wrapping her arms around herself. I found something in Mom's study last night, after everything you said about the trust fund. What did you find? Samantha pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly. Bank statements. Lots of them. And this email chain between Mom and her financial advisor. She passed me the phone. I think my entire college fund was actually yours. I scanned the emails, my throat tightening. She transferred it the summer I turned 15 and right after you all started coming to the lake house without me. Except you didn't stop coming, did you? Samantha's voice cracked. She stopped letting you come. I poured the tea, buying time to steady my voice. Do you remember the summer your mom married Dad? Vaguely. I was 9. I was 14. I had my bags packed for the lake house, had them packed for weeks. But the day you all left, Diane told Dad there wasn't enough room in the car. I stared into my cup. That was the first time. After that, there was always some reason I couldn't come. She used to say things about you when Dad wasn't around, Samantha admitted quietly. That you were jealous, unstable, that you tried to hurt us. And you believed her? I was a kid. I didn't know. She wiped her eyes. Yesterday, when you mentioned divorce papers, Mom completely lost it. Started shredding documents in her office. That's when I found the bank statements. A noise from inside the house made us both jump. I grabbed my phone, ready to call the police, but Samantha grabbed my arm. Wait, I think that's just the old water heater. It always made that sound, remember? I wouldn't know, I said quietly. I was never here. Samantha's face crumpled. God, Carol, I'm so sorry. I should have seen what was happening. You were 9, I reminded her. It wasn't your fault, but I'm not 9 anymore. She pulled something else from her pocket, a small red notebook. I took this from Mom's desk too. It's her personal diary. My hands shook as I took it. Have you read it? Some. It's bad, Carol. The things she wrote about you, about Dad. She was planning to, glass shattered inside the house. This time we both knew it wasn't the water heater. Someone was inside. Michael, Samantha whispered. I was already dialing 911 when we heard footsteps upstairs, heavy ones. We slipped inside through the kitchen door. I could hear him moving around in Dad's office, cursing under his breath. It has to be here somewhere, he muttered. Mom said check the floorboards. Samantha started to step forward, but I pulled her back, pointing to my phone. The 911 operator was typing our location. Something crashed upstairs. Through the window, I saw a dark figure climbing down the trellis, a second intruder. Police are 3 minutes out, I whispered to Samantha. She nodded and then froze. On the coffee table, clearly visible, was a family photo I'd just framed, one Joseph had given me, showing Dad holding me as a baby. Someone had circled Diane's face in red marker. Michael appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching papers. When he saw us, his face twisted with rage. You little snitch, he snarled at Samantha. Mom was right. You're just as bad as she is. Michael, stop. Samantha stepped in front of me. This has to end. Oh, it's ending, all right. He held up the papers triumphantly. Once Mom sees what's in Dad's letter, sirens wailed in the distance. Michael's eyes went wide. You called the cops? You actually called the cops on your own brother? Stepbrother, I corrected him, holding up my phone. And you're on camera breaking and entering. He ran for the back door just as police flooded the driveway. I heard shouting, then the thud of bodies hitting the ground. Samantha grabbed my hand. Carol, there's something else you need to know about why Dad changed his will when he did. But before she could continue, an officer appeared in the doorway. Ms. Winters? We've apprehended 2 suspects. Would you like to press charges? I looked at Samantha, then at the defaced photo of my father. Yes, I said firmly. Yes, I would. Through the window, I watched them load Michael into a police car. The second intruder was already inside another cruiser, face hidden in shadow. It was James, Samantha said quietly. Mom's personal assistant. He does whatever she asks, no questions. As the police cars pulled away, I realized this was only the beginning. Flashback, the last Christmas, 5 years ago, at what would be Dad's last Christmas, I brought Emma to the family gathering at the main house. She was 13 then, curious about the grandparents and step-family she rarely saw. Try to be polite, I'd warned her. No matter what they say, the tension in the house was palpable. Dad looked tired, thinner than I remembered. Diane orchestrated the perfect Christmas scene, matching outfits, professional photographer, carefully curated gift exchange. Carol, darling, she said, air kissing my cheeks. And Emma, isn't it? My, how you've grown. Emma, perceptive even then, stayed close to me throughout the evening. During dinner, she whispered, Grandpa keeps looking at you when Diane isn't watching. He looks sad. After dessert, Dad pulled me aside. I'm sorry, he said simply. For everything. I didn't know then that he'd already been diagnosed with heart disease, that he was beginning to put his affairs in order, that he was trying too late to make amends. It's fine, Dad. I lied, the way I always did to keep the peace. He shook his head. No, it's not. But I'm going to fix it, Squirrel. I promise. It was the first time he'd used my childhood nickname in decades. I nearly broke down, but Diane appeared, sliding her arm through his. Thomas, the photographer needs you for the family portrait. Carol should be in it, he said firmly. Diane's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. Of course, if she wants. But she and Emma would throw off the color scheme. We're all in red and green, and they're in. What is that, navy? Dad looked at me, a question in his eyes. Once again, I made it easy for him. It's fine, Dad. You all go ahead. Emma and I need to leave soon anyway. The defeated look on his face haunted me for years after. It was the last time I saw him before the heart attack. The evidence, Joseph's office. The second intruder turned out to be James, Diane's personal assistant. He cracked under questioning immediately, telling the police everything. How Diane sent them to find Dad's letters, how she'd been monitoring my movements, how she planned to reclaim what she considered rightfully hers. She's spiraling. Joseph warned me over the phone. The police report is public record now. Local news picked it up. Good. I was sitting in his office reviewing the contents of Dad's safe deposit box. Let everyone see who she really is. The box contained exactly what Dad promised. Proof of everything. Bank records, emails, even recorded conversations. But it was his final video message that changed everything. Play it again, I asked Joseph, and he clicked the file. Dad's tired face filled the screen. The recording was dated just a month before his death, his cheeks hollow, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Carol, if you're watching this, then I couldn't fix things in time. Diane. She's been embezzling from the family trust for years. When I confronted her, she threatened to destroy your reputation if I didn't play along, said she'd make sure everyone believed you were unstable, dangerous. That's why he stayed, Joseph explained softly. To protect you. But why didn't he just expose her? I asked, confused. Keep watching. Dad's voice broke. She has proof I knew about the transfers. If I turned her in, I'd go down too. I signed things, Carol. I was a coward, but I'm making it right now. Everything's documented here. Use it however you need to. I closed the laptop, hands shaking. I need to think. Back at the lake house, I started writing. Decades of exclusion, manipulation, and stolen opportunities poured out of me. I titled it simply, The House My Father Gave Me. It was part memoir, part expose, part attempt to make sense of 30 years of emotional abuse. Mary read it first, then Emma, then Samantha. You have to publish this, Mary urged. People need to know what she did. It'll destroy them, I said, uncertain. They destroy themselves, Emma pointed out, her young face serious. Truth isn't revenge, Mom. It's justice. I posted it at midnight. By morning, it had gone viral. Comments flooded in. This happened to me too. My stepmother did the same thing. Your father tried to make it right in the end. That counts for something. Financial abuse is still abuse. Thank you for speaking up. My phone exploded with notifications. Local news wanted interviews. National outlets were calling. The lake house story started trending. Samantha showed up around noon, looking shell-shocked. Have you seen Mom's Facebook post? No, she pulled it up. Dozens of old vacation photos, all tagged with happy family memories and oh, Daddy's girl. The caption read, Missing my beloved Thomas. He would be heartbroken to see his daughter turning against us like this. She's trying to control the narrative, Samantha said. But people aren't buying it. They're asking why there are no photos of you. Flashback The Invisible Daughter. At 16, I found a photo album in Dad's study. It was filled with pictures of them at the lake house. Diane sunbathing on the dock, Michael water skiing, Samantha building sandcastles, all doing things Dad and I used to do together. I flipped through page after page, feeling each one like a physical blow. In some photos, I could see signs of Dad's discomfort, his smile not quite reaching his eyes, his posture slightly stiff. In one image, they were all gathered around a birthday cake on the porch. It was August 12th, my birthday. They were celebrating someone else's special day on my birthday at the lake house without me. I confronted Dad that night, showing him the photo. That's my birthday, I said, voice breaking. You knew that. He looked genuinely confused, then horrified as realization dawned. Carol, I didn't realize the date. Diane arranged it for Michael's friend. I didn't connect. You forgot my birthday? The question hung between us. No, of course not. I called you that day, remember? I sent you that book you wanted. From the lake house, I said quietly. While you were celebrating with them. He had no answer, just pulled me into a hug I didn't return. That was the year I stopped expecting anything from him, the year I really became invisible. The final confrontation courtroom. The courthouse was packed for Diane's arraignment, breaking and entering, attempted arson, financial fraud. The charges kept piling up as more evidence emerged. I sat in the back row with Samantha and Emma, watching Diane's perfect mask finally crack. How do you plead? The judge asked. Diane stood, designer outfit replaced by standard issue court attire. Not guilty, Your Honor. Samantha gripped my hand. She's still lying. Of course she is, I whispered back. It's all she knows how to do. The prosecutor presented the evidence. My viral blog post, security camera footage, Dad's video testimony, bank records. With each new revelation, Diane seemed to shrink smaller in her chair. Then came the surprise witness. James, her former assistant. Ms. Bradley Winters instructed me to destroy specific documents, he testified. She said if Mr. Winters ever found out about the trust fund transfers, it would ruin everything. And did Mr. Winters find out? The prosecutor asked. Yes. 3 days before he died. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Emma's hand tightened around mine. What happened when he confronted her? The prosecutor continued. James glanced at Diane. She threatened to expose his role in covering up the transfers, said she'd make sure his daughter knew he chose money over her. He had a heart attack that night, I said out loud, my voice carrying in the sudden silence. The stress of your threats killed him. Order. The judge banged his gavel. Diane turned to face me, her eyes wild. He chose this. He chose to protect our family. Your family, I corrected her, the words bitter on my tongue. Never mind. During a recess, Joseph pulled me aside. They're offering a plea deal. She admits to everything, serves minimal time, pays full restitution. And what do they want in return? For you to stop talking to the media, no more blog posts, no interviews. I looked at Samantha, who had been my unexpected ally through all this. She shook her head. The truth matters more than money, she said. Back in session, Diane's lawyer announced they were rejecting the plea deal. But something had changed in Diane's demeanor. She looked desperate. Your Honor, she stood suddenly. I'd like to address the court. The judge nodded. Proceed. Everything they're saying. It's true. Her voice shook. I did it all. The money, the manipulation, the threats. I couldn't stand the way Thomas looked at Carol, like she was the only thing that mattered, so I made sure she didn't matter anymore. Samantha started to stand, but I pulled her back down. I told myself it was for our family, Diane continued. But really it was just for me. My control, my perfect life. And now it's gone anyway. The judge leaned forward. Are you changing your plea, Ms. Bradley Winters? Yes. She turned to face me directly. Guilty to all of it. The sentencing was swift. 5 years in prison, full financial restitution, no contact orders for all involved parties. As they led her away, she called out, Carol, please. I'm sorry. No, I replied calmly. You're just sorry you got caught. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Samantha stepped up to the microphone first. My mother destroyed 2 families with her actions, she said, her voice steady. She doesn't get to hide from that anymore. And you, Dr. Winters? A reporter asked me. What happens now? I thought about the lake house, about all the summers ahead. Now I'm going to do what my father wanted. Make new memories, better ones. With your sister? Someone pointed to Samantha. We looked at each other, really looked at each other, maybe for the first time. Yes, Samantha said firmly. With my sister. Flashback, the beginning of erasure. The summer after Dad and Diane married, I found all my childhood photos removed from the living room walls, replaced with new family portraits that didn't include me. My swimming trophies, once displayed proudly on the mantel, were boxed up in the attic. We're redecorating, Diane explained when I asked. Those old photos didn't match the new color scheme. But in Dad's office, I found one small picture still on his desk, me at age 8, sitting on his shoulders at the lake house, both of us laughing. I took it, hiding it in my room where Diane wouldn't see it. Years later, when I moved out for college, that photo was the first thing I packed. It was proof that I had once been visible, that I had once been the center of my father's world. Now, at 45, I understood how methodically Diane had worked to erase me, not just from the house, but from Dad's life, his priorities, eventually even some of his memories. It wasn't just jealousy, it was a calculated campaign to secure her position, her children's inheritance, her control. Epilogue: A New Beginning. Later that evening, we sat on the lake house porch, Emma, Samantha, and I, watching the sunset. The gas stains from Diane's attempted arson were gone, replaced by fresh paint. Inside, boxes of Diane's things waited to be donated. Michael called from rehab, Samantha said quietly. He's starting to realize what Mom did to all of us. Says he wants to make amends someday. Someday, I repeated. Not today. No, not today. Emma, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. So what happens now? With the lake house, I mean. I looked out at the water, thinking about how long I'd been kept from this place and what it could become now. I've been thinking about that. What would you both think about turning it into a retreat? What kind of retreat? Samantha asked. For women in midlife who need to reclaim something they've lost. Space to write, to create, to remember who they were before others started defining them. I turned to look at them. I'm calling it Second Chapter. Samantha smiled. I could help with that. My psychology background would be useful. And I could help during summer breaks, Emma offered. It sounds amazing, Mom. 3 months later, the first group arrived, 8 women between 45 and 65, each carrying notebooks and quiet determination. Some were dealing with divorce, others with emptiness, several with careers that had stalled or family relationships that had failed. Welcome to Second Chapter, I said, standing on the porch where Diane had once tried to burn it all down. This is a place for new beginnings. I shared my story first, letting them see how long it had taken me to reclaim my space, my voice, my right to be visible. One by one, they shared their own stories of erasure and rediscovery. My husband says I'm too emotional, one woman admitted. My children treat me like I'm invisible now that they're grown, said another. I gave up my career to raise a family, and now I don't know who I am anymore, a third confessed. That stops here, I told them. This is your space, your story, your time. We spent the week writing, talking, remembering, planning. The lake house filled with voices that had been silenced, dreams that had been deferred. Every woman received a key to the front door, symbolic but powerful. I never thought I'd feel safe in a family home again, one participant told me during our final dinner. Neither did I admitted. But sometimes we have to build our own safe spaces. That night, I found Samantha sitting in Dad's old office, looking at photos. I found his camera, she said. The memory card was still in it. She showed me the last photo Dad ever took, a sunset over the lake the day before his heart attack. The caption read, "Saving this view for Carol." He never stopped thinking about you, Samantha said softly. I know that now. Outside, the women were gathered around a bonfire, their voices carrying across the water, strong, clear, unafraid. My phone buzzed. Another media request for an interview about the court case, but I ignored it. The real story was happening right here, around this fire, in these voices finally being heard. Later, locking up for the night, I found a note slipped under my door from one of the participants. Thank you for showing us that sometimes the happy ending isn't about forgiveness. Sometimes it's about finding your own strength. I pinned it to Dad's old bulletin board beside my copy of the lake house deed. The keys, both old and new, went into a drawer marked past, because the future wasn't about locked doors anymore. It was about opening them for others who needed a safe place to land. At 45, I was no longer the family ghost. I was the keeper of keys, the teller of truth, the builder of better summers. And I was just getting started. As the retreat ended and the women departed, each carrying something they hadn't arrived with: confidence, clarity, a plan, Emma helped me clean up. You know what's funny, Mom? She said, gathering coffee mugs from the porch. Diane tried so hard to erase you, but in the end, she made you more visible than ever. I looked out at the lake, the same lake where Dad had taught me to sail, where we launched our little boat named Hope, where I'd finally reclaimed my place. Sometimes, I said, the things meant to destroy us end up rebuilding us instead. That evening, a letter arrived from Diane's prison. I'd received one every week since her sentencing, but hadn't opened any of them. I added this one to the growing stack in the drawer marked past. Not ready? Samantha asked, watching me. Maybe never, I replied. Or maybe someday. But right now, I'm too busy looking forward. The sun set on the water, painting everything gold. Finally, after 30 years, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And this time, no one could make me leave.